Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and the wrap up and final reveal of the Persson tribute build of the Airfix 1/48 scale North American P51D Mustang, kit number A05131. So what you see here is a quick rundown of everything I used for the most part in the build of this kit. I used these Vallejo products here, the surface primer as a base for the metal finishes. I ended up using 4 different metal finishes. I used aluminum, silver, steel, and burnt iron. The burnt iron was just for the exhaust. The steel was for part of the gear bay doors, and then these other two here were for the rest of the body of the sorry, I almost forgot one. For the rest of the fuselage and wings. I also used my current go-to paint, Tamiya. I use XF1 for the black portions of the wings and the engine cowling and the prop blades. I used green, yellow, and then red and yellow mixed together for the lights under the wingtip. I used the yellow for the prop spinner and the blade tips, and I used XF71, which is cockpit green, for the inside of the gear bay doors and the inside of the cockpit. I also used some Vallejo Model Color and Model Air for the interior and for the tires. The interior of the cockpit, I used yellow on some of the smaller parts, NATO black for the black parts, and then I used, I don't have them out on the table, but I used leather brown for the seat cushions and khaki for the seat belts. As for glues, I used my usual, which is Tamiya Extra Thin, in this case the quick setting, and I used Extreme Power CA glue, medium consistency, because the thin just doesn't work well for some things. For putting up the wings, to replicate what goes on with the real aircraft, to fill in all of the rivet detail and panel line detail, I use Mr. Surfacer 1000. A few times, sanded it down, refilled, because it kind of settles into the detail until it was to a surface that I was stoked with. Now, since this is a tribute build to Peter Persson, who is from Sweden, and part of the exercise in this tribute build was to do something from Sweden, in this case P51, I got this set of Digital Silk Next Generation Draw Decal decals, Swedish markings. The decals, the colors are really nice, register's great. They are, however, since they're silk type decals, I guess, they're a little thick and they have kind of a bit of texture to them. Now that was minimized with clear coat that I used on the kit, which I forgot to mention, which is the Tamiya X22, thinned with the Tamiya X20A thinner. The decals are really kind of not cooperative when it comes to using decal set. In this case, Walther's Solvaset decal setting solution. That's my go-to because it's really powerful, and it usually sucks the decals right down into any kind of detail and conforms to irregular surfaces and stuff like that. But in this case, it just man, it just didn't happen. I ended up having to cut the decals to get them to lay down in the panel lines, and I just, you know, worked with them as best I could. Now, just from what little bit of research I did on them after I bought them, seem to be really popular with civilian aircraft modelers, because they offer a pretty good line of civilian aircraft decals, and they seem to work really good, and you don't have as much of need for surface detail conformation as on a military aircraft. So maybe that's why they're popular, because it's basically, it's going on a smooth surface, and going down on a smooth surface, they work really, really good. They stick really well. They're really tough. You have to move them around. But I'd think twice. If it was my only option, I would probably go with them on a future kit. But if there were other options, I'd probably go with those instead. They're just a little bit thick and a little bit stubborn for what I like to achieve with my aircraft kits. So real quick, I want to go through the instructions and kind of talk a little bit about what I did as far as working on the aircraft. Pretty much built straight out of the box and according to the instructions. Everything went together fine. You know, all these first steps here with the cockpit and such. Everything fit great. I didn't really have to do any, major work. I did have to clean up a little bit of the edges, just from where the molds come apart. There was some sharp edges that I had to tone down a little bit. But I mean, that's typical model stuff, so it's no big deal. It wasn't severe, it wasn't bad or anything like that. So all this was done according to the instructions. Now, where I did deviate from the instructions is these steps right here, 21 and 22. So the tail sections come as separate pieces for each side of the fuselage. You can either do the one with the fillet, which is what I used in this case, and what is called for in this kit. And you also are supplied with non-fillet. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. 2 fillets. One is really flat and straight. One is slightly curved. So I used the ones that the kit called out for. And it instructs you to glue them to the sides of the fuselage and make sure they're lined up and all that kind of stuff. After a little bit of test fitting with tape and stuff like that, and I go over this in some of my earlier videos, I opted to put the fuselage together, put these 2 pieces together, and then install it on the fuselage. And by just shaving down the inside of here, is from the molding process, shaving that down just a little bit on the inside edge, I was able to get a really, really good fit of these 2 pieces going down on the assembled fuselage. Fit perfectly. So if you ever build this kit, that might be something to think about and consider as far as building it, because it just made it really easy. The cockpit and everything fit fine. I think I did have to do a little bit of sanding on the edges to get it made up really, really good. The wings, no problems with the wings. Everything fit good there. There was a little bit of overlap, like where the wing parts come together. A little bit of an edge sticking out, but it was super small, and it's just the trailing edge of the wing, and it sanded off, or the thin edges of the wing, and it sanded off really easily. These parts here, again, right back here in the back on the inside part, just shaving that down just a little bit, test fitting, shaving, test fitting, shaving. See, I was able to get it to fit really super flush. Flaps, ailerons, all that stuff fit perfectly. All of this stuff in here fit fine. I did have to put a shim right here, very thin shim, to get the curve of the wing to fit the curve of the wing root on the fuselage, but it's pretty minor, and I talk about it in one of the earlier videos. All these parts fit nice. I did have to sand this just a little tiny bit around the edge where it fits on there. But other than that, it was fine. All these parts fit fine. The horizontal stabilizers are fine. All these parts, everything went together great. From here on out, it was fine. Now, I did deviate from the instructions on this because this shows the diamond pattern tread. I used the ribbed because that's what it looks like they were on my online resources for the Swedish aircraft. As for the underwing stores, I didn't do any. I wasn't even going to put these little hard points, but I went ahead and did it anyway. One thing to take note of is they tell you to put these things on backwards. I put them on like this, and they're actually they're kind of curved out. They're actually supposed to curve in. So yeah, nice. All this stuff went together great. Where this meets the fuselage, it fit like a champ. Very, very nice, and I'll show you that when I show you the final reveal of the kit. So I didn't use any of these markings, obviously, so I have a whole nice set of markings for whenever I want to do another kit in one of those schemes if I wanted to. So that's pretty much it for the instructions. So let's go ahead and skip ahead to the final reveal of the P-51. All right, and here it is. P-51D. I think the Swedish call it a J-26, maybe? Not sure. My light seems kind of wonky. It's because I've got a extra light shining today. But that's it. For the most part, it turned out pretty good. I went with a fairly clean aircraft. I just dirtied up the tires a little bit, the gear bay, landing gear bay, whoops, and did some mild exhaust staining. Part of the reason I did that is because a peacetime aircraft would be cleaner. Now I know it would have oil stains and stuff like that, but I just wanted to keep this one clean, kind of more of a showpiece kind of thing, I guess. The wings, I like the way they turned out after the puttying and all that. I think I would do a much better job next time, since that's the first time I've ever done anything like that. So, you know, it's kind of a learning experience. But overall, the fit of the aircraft, as I mentioned in looking at the instructions, is really good. It was a fun kit to build, and I would definitely build a newer aircraft Airfix kit again. I like the detail in the cockpit, really pretty good. The clear stuff was really nice, and overall just a really, really good kit. So that's it. That's the Peter Persson tribute build of the P-51 by Airfix. Peter, hope you like it. You're a great guy. You know, you just, at the risk of sounding corny, you're kind of an inspiration of, you know, keeping the chin up while dealing with major health setbacks, and just, you know, kind of an inspiration. Puts things into perspective, and you know, you've been a good friend across the sea for quite a while now, and you know, I enjoy your model stuff and everything else. So anyway, that's pretty much it for now. Stay tuned to the channel, and I will be hopefully posting, if everybody will send me photos of their finished kits, I'll be posting a slideshow of everybody's finished models once it gets to the deadline date of December 31st. And my granddaughter's squawking in the background, poor kid. So anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for joining me here on Plastic Models by Regular Dude. As always, any questions, comments, concerns, hints, tips, etc., put them in the comments below, and I'll get back to you chop chop. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you all later.